Today's video dives deep into one of the most shocking developments in European geopolitics, a revelation that could change the entire balance of power in the Baltic Sea. NATO's secret plan against Russia has come to light, and it's far more strategic, bold, and alarming than anyone could have imagined. This isn't just about military bases or defense lines. It's about reshaping control over one of the most strategically vital waters in the world, the Baltic Sea. For years, Russia has viewed the Baltic region as a soft flank of Europe, a zone it could easily influence or dominate through its naval power, cyber tactics, and hybrid warfare. But quietly, NATO has been preparing something extraordinary behind the scenes, a plan so well coordinated and layered that it now threatens to trap Russia within its own regional ambitions. The Baltic Sea, once a theater of Russian dominance, is turning into a NATO fortress. And Moscow's military strategists are reportedly in a state of panic. This shift began years ago, but only now is the full picture becoming clear. After the invasion of Ukraine in 2022, NATO realized that Russia's aggression wouldn't stop at Kiev. It would continue to pressure Europe through the northern flank using the Baltic Sea as both a pressure point and a gateway. In response, NATO secretly developed a detailed contingency plan that would transform the Baltic into an impenetrable defensive zone. This plan involved military, political, and intelligence coordination at levels not seen since the Cold War. One of the first signs of this plan's execution was Finland and Sweden's rapid integration into NATO. These two Nordic countries had long maintained military neutrality, but Russia's war changed everything. When they joined the alliance, it was more than symbolic. It closed off nearly every Russian access point to the Baltic. St. Petersburg and Kaliningrad, Russia's main outlets to the sea, suddenly became exposed and surrounded by NATO-controlled waters. That geographic shift was a game changer, but behind this expansion, NATO planners were quietly building a more extensive military framework. According to intelligence leaks and defense analysts, the alliance began coordinating joint surveillance networks across the region. Satellites, drones, and undersea sensors now track every movement in the Baltic Sea. NATO's naval forces share live data on Russian submarine routes, ship deployments, and even radar jamming activities. The result is that Russia's stealthy navy is now being watched constantly, a major blow to Moscow's confidence in its maritime capabilities. The secret plan also involves something even more subtle, the weaponization of logistics. NATO has been quietly expanding and upgrading ports across the region, particularly in Poland, Lithuania, and Sweden. These ports are being reinforced not only for trade, but for rapid military deployment. At any moment, NATO could mobilize troops, tanks, and missile systems through these hubs. To Russia, this looks like an invisible wall forming around its western frontier. Another layer of this plan is the integration of air defense networks. For the first time in decades, NATO's Baltic air defense systems have been fully linked, creating an overlapping shield capable of tracking and intercepting Russian aircraft long before they approach alliance territory. This integration also includes U.S. F-35 stationed in Northern Europe, capable of stealth operations across the Baltic Sea. These jets can detect and neutralize threats within minutes, leaving Russian air forces at a disadvantage they've never experienced before. Moscow, of course, isn't sitting idle. The Kremlin has been conducting military drills near Kaliningrad and deploying Iskander missiles in the region as a warning to NATO. But this reaction has only validated the alliance's concerns, confirming that the Baltic region is the next potential flashpoint. What's even more concerning for Russia is that many of its neighboring countries are no longer afraid. Nations like Estonia, Latvia, and Lithuania, once considered vulnerable, are now fortified by NATO presence and intelligence cooperation. Inside NATO's secret planning circles, a new doctrine reportedly emerged, one designed to ensure that if Russia ever attempted aggression in the Baltic, it would be contained and countered before it could escalate. This doctrine involves prepositioned forces, digital command networks, and deep coordination with the United States Cyber Command. Cyber warfare is now a critical battlefield in this plan. NATO cyber units can disrupt Russian communication grids, radar systems, and satellite links almost instantly. The idea is to disable Moscow's ability to respond before its forces can even move. But what makes this revelation shocking isn't just the scale, it's the speed at which all of this has come together. Within just a few years, NATO went from reactive defense to proactive control. It's no longer waiting for threats, it's positioning itself to deter and disable them preemptively. The alliance has also been working closely with private defense companies and tech firms to deploy AI-driven surveillance across the Baltic, enhancing its ability to predict movements and detect patterns. This technological edge is something Russia has struggled to match due to international sanctions and limited access to advanced components. At the same time, NATO's economic and political strategy complements the military one. By increasing energy independence from Russia and creating new trade routes, the alliance has weakened Moscow's leverage. The Baltic states now rely less on Russian gas, cutting off one of the Kremlin's most powerful economic weapons. This combination of military encirclement and economic isolation forms the backbone of NATO's secret plan, ensuring that Russia faces maximum pressure from every direction without triggering a direct confrontation. But perhaps the most fascinating part of this story lies beneath the waves. NATO's underwater strategy in the Baltic Sea may be its most closely guarded secret. Undersea cables, pipelines, and energy corridors have long been targets of Russian sabotage or espionage. To counter this, NATO has been quietly installing surveillance nodes and defensive drones across the seabed. These machines can detect foreign intrusions or sabotage attempts in real time, providing immediate data to military command centers. Essentially, NATO now has eyes under the sea, something Russia has never fully achieved in the region. For Russia, this new situation presents an enormous dilemma. Kaliningrad, once a symbol of power projection, is turning into a strategic trap. The enclave is surrounded, monitored, and vulnerable to blockade if conflict breaks out. Any Russian movement from Kaliningrad toward the sea could be intercepted instantly. This means Moscow's ability to project power into the Baltic is shrinking dramatically. Even its Baltic fleet, stationed near St. Petersburg, faces increasing logistical and tactical challenges. NATO's dominance in the air, sea, and cyber domains has left little room for Russian maneuvering. Meanwhile, European unity over the Baltic has reached levels unseen in decades. The Nordic and Baltic countries now coordinate more closely than ever. Intelligence sharing has expanded, and joint training exercises are routine. Germany and Poland have also increased defense spending and troop readiness in response to Russian provocations. This united front is exactly what NATO's secret plan was designed to create, a solid defensive wall stretching from the Arctic to the Baltic, ready to counter any threat. Even the European Union has quietly aligned itself with this strategy. Funding for infrastructure, defense, and digital security in the Baltic corridor has skyrocketed. Projects like Rail Baltica, connecting Poland to Finland through the Baltic states, double as military transport routes in times of crisis. Every civilian infrastructure project now has a hidden strategic function, allowing NATO to mobilize faster than ever if war breaks out. The revelation of this plan has stunned analysts worldwide. Many believed NATO lacked the political will to act decisively. Yet what's unfolding shows that behind closed doors, the alliance was far more coordinated and ambitious than it appeared. Some experts are calling this the silent containment, a strategy that traps Russia without firing a shot. but Moscow's growing frustration means the risk of escalation remains high. Russia may respond with hybrid tactics, cyber attacks, disinformation, or covert sabotage instead of open war. As more details emerge, one thing becomes clear. The Baltic Sea is no longer just a regional zone of competition. It's now the front line of a global power struggle. NATO's secret plan signals a new phase in Western strategy, not just to defend against Russia, but to permanently limit its capacity to threaten Europe. The alliance's message to Moscow is unmistakable. Your sphere of influence ends here. But with that message comes risk. The more NATO tightens control, the more Russia feels cornered, and history has shown that cornered powers can act unpredictably. Putin's government has already accused NATO of encirclement and aggression, claiming that the West's actions violate old security guarantees. Yet from NATO's perspective, the alliance is simply responding to Russia's own behavior, especially its invasion of Ukraine and persistent threats toward the Baltics. Behind the political statements and military drills lies a dangerous tension. The Baltic Sea has become a silent battleground of surveillance, submarines, and satellites, each side testing the other's limits without crossing into open conflict. It's a chess game being played at sea, under the sea, and in the skies above. And for now, NATO seems to have the upper hand. In the coming years, this balance will determine more than regional security. It will shape the future of Europe's borders and Russia's global standing. If NATO maintains control of the Baltic, Russia's strategic reach in Europe could be permanently reduced. On the other hand, if Moscow finds a way to break this containment, perhaps through new alliances, cyber dominance, or military escalation, the entire region could spiral into confrontation. For now, NATO's secret plan remains one of the most sophisticated operations in modern defense history. A web of intelligence, military coordination, and geopolitical foresight that has caught Russia off guard. Whether it leads to long-term peace or future conflict will depend on how both sides handle the pressure in the months ahead. The revelation of this plan isn't just about military maneuvers, it's about the return of great power politics to Europe's doorstep. The Baltic Sea, once seen as a quiet corner of the continent, is now a symbol of a new Cold War. And as more information surfaces, one thing is clear. The struggle for control of the Baltic isn't just about geography. It's about who controls the future direction of Europe itself. So as we watch these developments unfold, one question remains: has NATO truly outmaneuvered Russia? Or has it simply pushed Moscow into preparing for something even more dangerous? Only time will tell. But one thing is certain: the Baltic Sea will never be the same again.